Hello, this is Mr. Wynn, and today's video will be about the Quadratics test review. So on your tests, you'll be tested over these 9 topics. Make sure you turn standard form to vertex form. Find me the equation if I give you a vertex and a point. Find me the equation if I give you a graph. Solve a quadratic inequality. Find the equation of Directrix. Solve quadratic systems. Do regression in the calculator. Use regression to find the missing point. And find the equation if I give you a focus and vertex. So, the first one will be standard form to vertex form. Remember, standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c on the top left. And I want to change it to the top right, y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. And both forms have their own pros and cons. So there are 2 steps. First, find the vertex, and then plug in a, h, and k. So my equation is already in standard form. To find the vertex, I do the axis symmetry formula, negative b over 2a. So negative b would be positive 20. Over 2 times negative 5, that's 20 over negative 10, that gives me negative 2. So my vertex, I know the x part is negative 2, but I gotta find the y. Well, to find the y, you should plug that x back in. So I'm gonna do negative 5 times negative 2 squared minus 20 times negative 2 plus 4. Well, that is 44 minus 20 is 24. Alright, so our vertex is also known as h comma k. So I found h and k, and don't forget a is the same a from before, from the quadratic formula, from the standard form, so a is negative 5. With those 3 numbers, h is negative 2, k is 24, a is negative 5, I'm going to plug it into the equation, then I'm done. So y equals a, which is negative 5, times x, opposite of h. So opposite of negative 2 is positive 2, squared, plus k, so we'll leave k alone. This is my answer. Now, if I distribute, or if I FOILed this, remember if I did this, which would take quite a while, but if I FOILed first, then I distribute the negative 5, and I combine like terms, I would get the original problem back. No, I'm not going to do that. So there's my answer. Number 2. If I give you the vertex 7, negative 4, I tell you it goes through 4, 8. Find the equation. Draw your picture. The first step says reflect the missing point by reflecting over the axis of symmetry. Well, 7, negative 4 is about right here. 7, negative 4. Alright, it also goes through 4, 8. Well, 4 is right here. Let's say 8's up here. Remember, a parabola U is perfectly symmetric. The axis of symmetry always goes through the vertex. It goes with this. Never ever reflect the vertex. I'm going to flip this left point right here to the right side over here. Well, the y's are going to be the same, but the vertex x is in the middle. So if 7's in the middle of 4 in a number, that number must be 10. Because it's plus 3, plus 3. I went right 3, right 3. So we don't need the picture, but here it is. Here's my U. But basically, I need the points. We have our vertex. We have our point they gave us, and the point we found, 10, 8. With those 3, I'm going to do regression in the calculator. So if I forgot, that's go to the calculator, stat, edit, type in your L1s, which is the x's. Type in the L2s, which are your y's. Make sure you type correctly. Then stat, right, so calculate, and 5. Here's my answer. Now, I'll just use the decimals. So y equals 1.3 repeating x squared, minus 18.6 repeating, plus 61.3 repeating. So y equals 1.33 x squared, minus 18.67x, plus 61.33. Now technically I should turn those as fractions, but I'll just use those decimal answers. Alright, that's it for that. Here, find the equation if I give you a graph. Well, a graph has a very important piece of information. That is the roots. The x-intercepts are zeros. So basically I know the roots are negative 2 and 4. Change them into factors by changing the sign and put it inside with parentheses next to x. So the negative 2 is going to be plus 2. Instead of positive 4, it's going to be negative 4. Alright, now put a y on the left. I told you a trick. If pick a point, say I pick this blue point again. If it's shaded underneath, which it is, it's always less than. If it's shaded above the picture, it's greater than. Now since the line's dotted, there's no equal sign. This is it. That's all I need. So can you change the roots of factors, and can you pick the correct sign? Either less than, greater than. If it's dashed and not solid, and if it is solid, make sure you use the equal signs. Make sure you use the correct one. Alright, quadratic inequalities. Remember your new quadratic formula. Sketch it, do a test point, and write the answer correctly. If it's inside the parabola, you must write it this way. Basically, the sign's less than, right? Don't ever flip those. Now, if it's outside the parabola, you have to write it this way. You have to do less than the first number or greater than the second number. Now, the only change you can do is put the equal sign underneath if it's solid. Otherwise, it's always less than, or greater than. Anyhow, solving the problem. I need a quadratic formula. I need to move everything to one side by subtracting the 12. Alright, now I can do quadratic formula. So A is 1, B is negative 4, C is negative 12. Put it into the formula. So opposite of B plus or minus root of B in parentheses squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Do the inside part first. Again, that's called the discriminant. So 4 plus or minus, that number is 16 plus 48 is 64. Since it's positive, there should be 2 different answers. Now our next step is to do the square root of 64, which is 8. And now do the 2 cases. 4 plus 8 over 2 and 4 minus 8 all over 2. So I get 12 over 2, which is 6, and negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Those are my 2 x-intercepts. Those are my roots. Now, if the equation was an equal sign, we'd be done. However, it is an inequality. There's a less than or greater than sign. That means there's shading involved, meaning you need to do a test point and a sketch. So all you do is draw the picture, put the 2 numbers you found, the x-intercepts, the roots on there. So let's say 6 is right here, and say negative 2 is right here. Technically is open. Now, what kind of U is this? A is positive, so it's a regular U. So here's my quick sketch. I gotta pick a test point. If you do quadratic formula or get the roots, you want to pick a test point in the middle between the 2 numbers. So basically negative 1 will be okay, 0 will be okay, 1, 2, 3, 3.5. But I'll pick 0, 0 since it's available. If I plug 0, 0 into the original problem, I do 0 squared minus 4 times 0 is less than 12. Well, that turns into 0 is less than 12, which is true. True means shade with the test point. Now, if there's 2 letters, x and y, the picture is the answer. However, it is just the letter x. They only want the x-intercept, or x-axis. So he says between the 2 dots, the 2 numbers, you have to write the answers at. So the x is between the 2 things, between the first one and the second one, and it's open. That's our answer. Alright, quadratic form is not enough. You must do the whole thing and put the answer in the correct form. Find the equation of the directrix. In a directrix, you need k and a. K comes with the vertex. A is also from the vertex form. Remember, vertex form is y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. It's already in vertex form. That means we should be able to find or identify the vertex right away. Well, h, opposite of h is inside the parentheses. So I know my vertex, the h would actually be negative 7, and k is outside on the right side, which would be this. So k is negative 2. Alright, so I have my h and k, that I don't need h, and my a would be the thing in front of the parentheses. So this is really a negative 1. So with a and k, we're going to go ahead and put that in the formula. So the formula is up there, y equals k, which is negative 2, minus 1 over 4 times a was negative 1. Put in your calculator, you get y equals positive negative 7 over 4. And that's it. Alright, quadratic systems, set the equations equal to each other, then do quadratic formula. The first one is set up y equals with no parentheses. The second one, I just solve for y. So add 2x to both sides. So 2y equals 10 plus 2x. Or if you want, some people put the x in front. Just make sure it keeps this positive sign. So 2x plus 10 is the same thing. Then I'm going to divide by 2. I get y equals x plus 5. Alright, I no longer need this middle part. I have two equations only, the top one and the bottom one. Set them equal. X squared plus 2x plus 3 equals x plus 5. Move everything to one side so I can do quadratic formula. So I'm going to subtract x and subtract 5. So x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. I can do A, B, C. A is 1, B is 1, C is negative 2. Fill in the formula. Negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Do the discriminant inside. That gives me 9. Well, square root of 9 is positive 3. A1 plus or minus 3 over 2. Do the two cases. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, divided by 2 is negative 2. Now, for a system, you must plug those x's back in to get your y. I will use the bottom equation because it's easier. So here, if I plug 1 in, 1 plus 5, that's 6. So 1 comma 6 is my first answer. Then I do the second one, y equals negative 2 plus 5. I get 3. So 2 comma 3 is my second answer. Two different answers, again, because the discriminant is positive. Now you can check by graphing it and see that the u will cross the line twice. Or vice versa, the line crosses the u twice. Here, quadratic regression. Make sure you use a calculator. Stat edit, stat calc 5. Pick at least 3 points. Do not use an incomplete point. So I just use the middle 3. So stat edit. Remember, clear, click clear on the top and go down. Clear another one, go down. Do not delete them. If you delete them, reset your calculator. Second plus 712. Negative 1, 0, 1. Over here, it's, what is that? Negative 6, negative 1, 8. Make sure you type in correctly. If you type in a number wrong, forget a sign, you get it wrong. Stat calc 5. Here's my equation. A is 2, B is 7, C is negative 1. So y equals 2x squared. Was it positive 7? Yeah. Plus 7x minus 1. And instead of y, I could call this f of x, the same thing. So there's my equation. Now to find the missing point, you got to plug in 8. So if I do 8 for x, that's 2 times 8 squared plus 7 times 8 minus 1. I put that in the calculator. So 2 times 8 squared plus 7 times 8 minus 1 gives me 183. 183. So that's the answer there. Alright, last topic. Find the equation of the, if I give you the vertex focus, you must do FVD. Alright, remember the vertex is in the middle. F, it says 4, negative 1. Vertex is 4, 2. One of the numbers will stay the same. Obviously, you see the 4s twice. So the directrix is the line. However, I want the point on that line. So that's 4. Remember, directrix is outside the parabola. The focus is inside the parabola. Well, if I go from negative 1 to 2, that means I added 3. So if I add 3 again, I get 5 here. Once you do that, you're going to find the distance from F to D. You just subtract them, or you notice I went 3 and 3. The total distance is 6. That distance you add to F. So it'll be 4 plus 6, leave y alone. And 4 minus 6, leave y alone. That gives me 10, negative 1, my first point. The second one turns into negative 2, negative 1. That's my second point. And the last thing is use the vertex. Those three things, you do regression calculator. So stat, edit, stat calc 5, your equation, and you're done. And my video's out of time. So last thing I want to say is make sure the x's are the same. If they're not the same, you must flip all your points. Flip all the x's and y's to make sure all the x's are the same. All right, if you know how to do that, you should be fine for the test. Again, this is Mr. Wynn. Thanks for watching. See you in class. Bye.